States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So we'll announce that an executive session was held prior to this meeting to discuss personnel and legal matters. And I move to approve the March 9th, 2026 meeting agenda as posted.
I'll second your motion. Questions or comments on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
Can you turn the mic on?
Turn on the mic.
Can you turn the sound up?
It's already on.
Can you turn it up?
Can I turn it up?
I've been ordered not to touch this thing.
Maybe I can get it closer. Is that better?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different microphone because we had a problem with the other microphone.
Okay.
I move to approve the February 3rd, 2026 Board of Supervisors meeting minutes.
I'll second that motion. Questions or comments on that? Those in favor?
Aye.
Department reports, get ready.
Thank you. I will also mention that this meeting is being recorded and will be posted on YouTube, by sometime tomorrow. Okay, so during the month of February, we, processed a lot of year-end reports, prepared for the annual year-end review, which is a gathering of our volunteers, our staff, and our Board of Supervisors to talk about strategic planning and cooperation. We have our new assistant township manager, Kathy Hauk. I've been working on orientation with her. For those of you who haven't met Kathy, stop by and say hello after the meeting. Submitted our annual recycling report to Chester County for 2025. We're working on updating some of our administrative manuals, such as our purchasing policy, personnel manual, social media policy. Submitted the certified local government report to the Pennsylvania Historic and Museum Commission. Oh, thank you, sorry about that. Is that better?
Barely.
We're having technical problems, we were trying to fix it all afternoon, sorry. Eleanor's in the process of planning spring and summer events for Park and Rec and EAC, and we're ramping up our social media outreach. Grant news is we received a grant from PERMA, which is the Pennsylvania Intergovernmental Risk Management Association, for $5,000 to replace outdated AEDs for the police department. And subdivision land development news, nothing new from last month. Projects still under construction are Aldi, Chase Bank, the Starkman Daycare. Projects completed are the Kimberly Piazza project in the village. Projects under review by the Planning Commission are the Altair Eco Village and B&B Environmental Landscaping Contractor. And the Planning Commission is working on educating themselves on data centers. And we are in discussions with a property owner regarding a proposed zoning amendment for that property. And that's it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I did wanna ask about the public hearing notice, for the, what was it? Traffic impact fee ordinance. It looks like the public notice of a hearing was posted on March 1st and the meeting occurred on March 3rd. I didn't even see that because it seemed, it was only posted on Facebook that I saw it. Is there gonna be a separate public hearing so that people who didn't even know about it, cause it was a 48-hour window, will be able to hear the proposal? That's the first question. The second question is, I would ask that when you have a public hearing coming up, or a notice for that, you give it the same time width that you give, like, Do Things Good in February, where we had a budget every single day.
I'm gonna check that because it was supposed to be in a week in advance.
Yeah, I looked at it, and that's why I brought it up, because it said posted on March 1st, the meeting was on the 3rd.
Okay.
And that wasn't enough
We'll be
time.
covering that topic in the agenda tonight too.
That's
go
great,
back to
that's
March,
great,
so.
but will there be another public hearing?
Not sure.
Okay, so my suggestion is there should be, because there was not enough time. Okay, thanks.
Al?
Yeah, on the, oh my gosh, I think it's Bacardi property, the plaza, down in
Yeah.
town, Timberton. Part of that, if I remember correctly, was improvements to our parking lot. Are
That's improvements that we are going to make, yes, they paid,
They
yes.
did their, okay, thank
Yes.
you.
And Sean's working on that.
Just wanted to make sure we got our money.
Yes, sir.
The AEDs for the police, how many were we able to get?
7.
While you're on the topic, would you explain what an AED is?
It's if you're having heart issues, the AED can be hooked up to, basically resuscitate your heart. Stacy, you can jump in if you want to, but we got 7, 5 of which went to the police department. There's one in the hallway down here for public use if we should need it, and there's one in public use.
How many previous did we have?
7 that we turned back in, and we got a slate
Then
rebuilt.
we get the replaced.
Yes,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anyone?
Yeah, one more quick question. You mentioned that before this meeting started, there were personnel and legal matters that had to be handled. I guess my question is, why isn't Vince here? And, I guess what were they? Is that something that we can share if it has to do with the township and you had to have a meeting on it? I don't know where that comes in the agenda.
What happens is our solicitor was here with us for that. That's Andy Belmar, who's our solicitor. He'll answer that question.
Okay.
I'll answer the second one, I can answer for the other supervisor.
Okay.
I think he's out today. But, no, the Sunshine Act allows for a board to conduct an executive session, just telling you generally what it's about, as opposed to giving you the details.
Right.
So no, there will be no further comment as regards to any of the items discussed.
Okay,
Until
so-
something happens by way of an action where the board has to vote on that.
Okay, all right. And it's okay to hold this meeting without having our third board member?
Yeah, with 2 members, we have a quorum.
You have a quorum
so you
for it,
can move
okay.
ahead.
Okay, and Vince was just elected, right? So I'm just like, where is he?
He's
Okay.
in Guatemala.
Huh?
He's in Guatemala, right?
Yes.
He's in Guatemala.
Hopefully he gets back. Okay, all right. Okay, thanks.
I have a question about your statement.
Yes.
I'm sorry, your name for the record?
Bernadette Pogozelski. My question is, you said that you can't go into details, but can you give us some kind of general summary of what was discussed?
No, because to do so from a personnel perspective would potentially violate the subject's rights. And then as regards to litigation, no. We want to keep all discussions about litigation or potential litigation in-house, if you will, private, until action has to be taken. And then there will be an explanation and it goes to the public.
Okay.
Thank you. Chief, you're next.
Thank you. I hope no one will mind, but I was gonna ask if we could just, have a moment of silence to honor Corporal Timothy O'Connor, who was killed in the line of duty last night in Chester County. So if you don't mind, I would just ask for a moment of silence. Thank you. I just wanna comment on that, my comments are, we remember his courage, his service, and his sacrifice, and we keep his family and fellow officers in our thoughts. Please join me in that moment of silence, which we did. I wanted to add, I became a police officer and I started the academy back in 1993, I'll make this quick. Back when I started to become a police officer, if an officer died in the line of duty, it was like a big deal. Not that it is, but it was very sad, and it was a big news event, and we wore a mourning band on our badges. And now it's so common that officers get killed in the line of duty that you don't wear them anymore because you would have it on your badge all the time. And I guess it's just, I'm shaking because, you go into work and you just don't know. And I'm sorry if I get upset, is it gonna be your last day at work? Yeah, and the guys in here know him, and, some of my staff know him, so it's pretty hard. So I appreciate anyone who reached out to us today, because a lot of people did, so thank you.
Let me just add to that this happened in a community just like ours. This wasn't in some distant place or big city or on the turnpike. This was in a small town. Officer had no chance.
I worked with the trooper a few times, when I was with the DA's office, and he was a fabulous Afghan. So his work was outstanding, and I know he'll be missed, by Emeryville.
There were a lot of senseless killings in the county over the weekend. It was, I don't know what was going on, but it was a pretty tough weekend for Chester County. So thank you for that, everyone. As far as the police department goes here, we handled a total of 478 calls for service. We had 36 traffic citations, 46 warnings, 16 traffic accidents, and 4 of which were reportable. The most noteworthy incidents we handled were criminal mischief. We had somebody who tried to steal more wire, which I don't get. I guess they have a death wish, but we responded to the call, we collected evidence, and that is still under investigation. We had damage to a political sign. There were no witnesses and there's no video, and right now there's no investigative leads on that. There was also a stop sign that was defaced, with somebody graffitied or spray painted on it, and that was, I believe, replaced, Sean? Okay, thank you. We had an incident of trespassing. So a local business owner called for a subject who was not supposed to be there. We made contact with the subject and he was advised to leave, which he did. Terroristic threats, this involved juveniles, so I won't get into a whole lot of detail, but no police action was taken. It was ultimately handled within the school. 2 hit and runs, one of which was a vehicle, and we were able to identify the hit and run driver via Viper, which is an LPR license plate reader, so we were able to identify the striking vehicle and the owner, and that case is now closed. We had another hit and run, but that involved a snowplow vehicle, and that's under investigation. We're trying to figure out which company hit and made the damage so we can get the damage repaired. Attempted fraud at bank, somebody tried using a fake driver's license. Luckily, the bank was suspicious about it. They denied the transaction, and there was no loss to the resident. Another one, a local bank reported that a subject came into the bank, tried to cash a fraudulent check. They remembered a memo that went out to the bank about somebody who tried to do something similar in a different jurisdiction. They stalled the person in the bank and they called the police, and we got there and we were able to make an arrest. And the officers did a fantastic job interviewing her and following up on social media and other software platforms that we use as a police department. And we were able to identify several other such subjects that were doing similar activity in other jurisdictions, so multiple arrests were made. A weapons offense, we went to a domestic, and there was a subject there who was not supposed to have a gun, and he did, and he was arrested for that. We had 1 DUI, and then we had 2 traffic stops that resulted in 2 drug arrests. Incidents, we went, or actually more of a community event in the township. We had a town hall on February 21st over Cold Stream Crossing. That's one of our most well-attended events, and it was well-attended this time as well. We did a fraud presentation over at Woodbridge. The AEDs we talked about, that was from a grant, and I give a special thank you to Cheryl and to Kim for securing the funds for that. The technical college in high school over there on Charlestown Road, even though it's not in our township, it's in Schuylkill Township, they reached out to us to see if we would help their kids who were actually going to a state championship for the very first time for crime scene investigation. So our officers assisted them with doing a mock crime scene to get them prepped for that. And the administrative assistant went to the JNET conference this past week. And that's all I have.
Questions or comments for the chief? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I have a question about Crossover Boulevard, the pedestrian crossing with the marked lines. Cars are supposed to stop, right, when there's people, if there's a crosswalk and it's lined, cars are supposed to stop or not stop?
Well, it depends. If you're on the side of the road and you're waiting and there's traffic that is coming and free flowing, the pedestrians by law are supposed to yield to the vehicles. But if you're in the crosswalk and you're crossing,
Okay.
the pedestrian has the right of way.
Okay.
My advice will stand as it has for the last 10 years doing traffic. The cars are gonna win, so
Yeah,
not stop and get the hell out of the
It'd be messy
way.
to clean up, okay, alright, just checking.
Lisa,
Okay.
we are looking at that to maybe
Yeah.
do something different with the markings on that, because we
Yeah,
have
because
got
that's,
several.
it's dangerous, it really is, okay, alright, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Anybody else? Thank you, chief.
Thank you.
Sean Meredith,
All right,
operations report.
all right, and, roads department, staff responded to 5 winter storms in the month of February. Totaling about 104 hours by staff and 64 by our contractors, and we drove a total of almost 1,500 miles and spread 144 tons of salt. We've already, well, the time I made this, we're above that now, but we already put out 3 tons of asphalt patch for potholes, so don't be afraid to let us know if you see some others we've missed. We're still working on them. Besides that, we've gone through and did our fire inspections in this building, inspected all fire extinguishers for both the building and the vehicles. We had quite a few plumbing issues around this building lately. We've had those all repaired by contractors. In the parks world, we had park staff took an arborist training put on by Penn State this month to help with tree removal. Also attended a training on meadow management and establishment. And big plug here for Thursday, please come on out and be part of the Parks Recreation Open Space and Trail Plan. Thursday night, there is a public input session at Fire Hall. Water turn on is scheduled here, actually for this week. It was turned on actually today by the water department, and we should get hopefully by the end of the week, have everything back up and running in Kimberton Park. For those of you who use the dog park, we did get around to seeding and filling holes in that in the bigger dog run, so as soon as that grass starts growing, we'll be able to rotate that back into use. The staff has also started preparing for the community garden, so if you're signing up for that, we did make a couple more tabletop beds this year. And lastly, I'd just like to make a little plug for Matt Gassondi, who is our land steward. He's been working really hard in remapping all the stormwater infrastructure in the township and everything north of French Creek, which is it's a really big lift. There's a lot underground you'll know about, so really appreciate his hard work there.
That's it.
That's it.
Questions or comments?
Sean, the Canadian geese over at Ridge Road Park,
Yeah.
gonna try and do anything though?
Not much you could really do. They're protected. I don't think anybody wants to hear a goose cannon firing off in 15 minutes over there, so.
I'm just worried about the downside of 100 geese
There's a lot.
flapping all over the place. Last week, you couldn't walk on the path at all. And without water just sitting there, it's not healthy.
There are services that will come out, with dogs and do herding every so often. And it will get the geese to leave, at least for a while, and you just have to kind of periodically do it. Because they are very nasty and can be very aggressive. People can get hurt very easily from them.
Well, isn't there water at that park? Isn't there water at Ridge Road Park?
Yeah.
Yeah, did you turn that on too today?
Yeah.
It never goes off there.
Oh, okay.
It would be on right
Okay.
now.
Anyone else?
What time's Thursday's meeting?
I'm sorry.
What time is Thursday's meeting?
6 to 8 p.m. There's a flyer on the table in the back that gives you all the information. We'd love if you
There's
press
the
one up on
flyers
the
right
right.
there.
6 p.m.
6 to 8.
Yes, Al?
Just since we're talking about parks, and maybe I'm stealing Tim's thunder later, Love Your Park Day is Saturday, and please note that's been moved to Ridge Road Park, at 9 o'clock Saturday, if anybody's available and wants to come clean up goose crap, I guess. I don't know what's on the agenda for what we're doing, but I'm sure it's just normal maintenance.
Where was it scheduled to be before? Al?
Kimberton Park,
Kimberton Park,
Yeah.
okay, it's now moved.
over at Ridge Road.
Okay,
Yep.
anyone else?
Quick question. The, I guess daycare learning center that's been put up on East Seven Stars and, this one,
113.
There is only, from what I can tell, one entrance into that. And if there's an emergency, how are you going to get kids out of there? Because there's only one way in and out. Also like to know what the status of that is, because it's been a construction site for quite a while.
You have a-
It's on schedule. It's on schedule. Our
Well, what
contract.
is the schedule then, if you could
I
tell
don't
me?
know when they'll be finished, but they've been moving pretty actively considering the weather, so.
You happen to know, Kim, if that's, the case, only one entry and one exit?
It is off of 7 Stars, yep.
No, I think she's talking about the building, not.
No, I'm talking about the entrance, yeah, it's, what are you gonna do if there's fire trucks responding and they're coming through that entrance? How are you going to evacuate, what kinds of things are you gonna put in place, especially if it's just not somebody's threatening, if there's some kind of an incident there, there's no way to keep those kids safe. And no way to get cars out of a driveway that's only a one in and one out.
But that's a good point, I don't have the answer for that. You can, do you have anything to
I
offer
do not
on
have
that
an
plan?
answer for that. no.
I remember a little bit about the ingress egress because of meetings a long time ago, we discussed it at the township meetings. They are only gonna have one in and out because it was considered to be safer for the kids, for everyday use. That's what I remember from our meetings like months ago.
I would say that the entrance road is probably wide enough for more than one vehicle to go past, but I haven't looked at the plan. John, do you remember?
Yeah, it's wide enough for access, the fire department, approved the plan, and it is by our ordinance compliant, so there's no requirement to have two entrances.
The new Harris Hill School only has one entrance and that's.
No.
My fundamental concern is that when there's an emergency, and I've been responsible in an emergency situation, if fire trucks are coming in, you don't want people trying to get out. You don't want cars blocking the entrance or the exit, because it really interferes with response.
Unknown caller.
This might be a good opportunity if everyone has a phone, if you mind turning it off. Anyone else? Okay, the zoning report is posted in the back. The Timberview Fire Company, report is likewise
For the
posted in
zoning
the back.
report, do you have anything on there that we should know about instead of going into the back? Is there anything that we can, like, top line that, or does everyone have to get up and walk to the back and look at the zoning report?
You don't have to get up and do that, I mean, you could look on the way out if you want to see.
Okay,
that report.
I know, and I
Well, I hear
understand.
you, I'm about to find out if we have an answer to your question.
Yeah, no, I understand, I just wanna make sure that if there's something that needs to have public comment around it, when we're looking at it at a public meeting and looking at it on the way out,
Gotcha.
we're missing that.
Yep, I got you on that. You wanna address that, Kim?
Yeah, sure. We're still working on trying to get to Ridge Road, which is the French Creek Inn, into compliance with building, code. They've had several problems over there, in addition to the fact that they are allowing individuals to dwell on the property, not just stay overnight as you normally would for a motel. 1345 Harris Hill Road, we had an inspection out there, today, this morning, with a contractor and members of the historical commission and with Paul, our zoning officer, regarding the property, which is it's an historic resource and it's in disrepair. They've been cited for demolition by neglect. So we met with their contractor to give them direction on what improvements need to be made to bring the property, into compliance so that it doesn't continue to deteriorate. 30 Prizer Road, the owner still has not complied with the notice of violation and paid for grading permits for, installation of a pond without permits. And that's about it. Those are the highlights.
Thank you, I appreciate that,
Mhm.
thank you.
Same thing with the fire company, is there anything notable on there that you'd like to mention?
They are still working through their reporting system. Oh, there you go. Good.
Here,
I have this, I have that
Yes.
posted, it's just numbers.
yes, we're still working on that. It's, a work in progress. It's a new reporting system for the state, so it's taking us a little bit to get acclimated to it. Not all the, pieces are working correctly yet with the reporting. Hopefully we'll have that together soon.
Sorry, I didn't see you back there.
It's okay.
And they responded to 14, incidents in East Pikeland in February.
Yes.
How many total, do you recall?
Top of my head.
37.
37 for the month? Yeah. We've actually had a busy beginning to the year so far. We've been very busy, so.
Okay.
Thank you.
West End Ambulance, Stacy, you were here in person.
Hi, so, let's see. For February, we had a total of 124 911 dispatches. 67 of those dispatches were in East Pikeland, so 54% of our call volume is in, East Pikeland. We had a total of 173 events, and for our skilled nursing facilities, Woodbridge and Spring Mill, we did a total of 24 calls out of them. And as Sean said, we had quite a bit of snow this month, and, we were incredibly lucky to have Kimberton Fire and the police department and Clear Road assist us, which kept everyone safe. So again, thank you guys for helping out during the storm, and we don't have anything else.
Questions or comments? Yes, ma'am?
So with the tax increase that we got, that's specifically to help the fire and the ambulance company. I know that came in part from our township. Do you also get money from other townships, and is it gonna be, enough basically to help you meet your shortfall, which I know you guys really have one? Were you able to get, tax dollars from other townships in addition to East Pikeland?
Absolutely. So all of the municipalities we covered, we did go to them for funding. This is the first time West End has gone for regular funding. We're one of the only, ambulance companies in the county that didn't already have funding in place. We've been pretty fiscally responsible, so we were trying to remain self-sustaining and just couldn't. We're still at a little bit of a shortfall, but we're hoping that with grants and everything else that could come in and subscriptions, that we'll be able to, not be in a deficit.
And is this gonna be a permanent tax now, added to our tax base pretty much?
I would hope so,
It's gonna
quite
be part of
honestly.
your budget.
Yeah,
You're
I
gonna-
mean, quite
you're gonna
honestly,
bill
I
it
would
as
hope
part of
so,
your budget.
and I can speak for both us and the fire department, it was a much smaller, request. What we're receiving is much smaller than what we requested,
Right.
which we understand. And we are thankful for anything that we have coming in to assist us with funding. But, yeah, our costs running EMS far exceed what our reimbursements are.
Okay, thanks.
But any questions, you guys could, reach out to me, I'd be happy to answer them, and, our website has the subscription information.
Yes, ma'am?
Thank you. And I'm just curious, I know that the fire company, benefits from the fair. Is there any reason or any movement to assist Wesson Ambulance with monies from that, event as well? Even a small percentage could help their shortfalls and maintain services. I'm putting it out as I think it's a great idea to do that, because I think that we have to support both ends of emergencies.
I certainly agree with you on that. We're in luck, we have a representative of the fire company here tonight. And maybe he would like to tell us something about that.
So your question would be, can the fair donate additional monies to EMS, to the ambulance? Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Now, the ambulance does come out during the fair, we stand by there. They are actually compensated by the fair to be there. Is it a large amount? No. But we negotiate a contract between each other, and then they're compensated for their services during the fair. However, it is up to the fair, they're a separate entity from the fire company. It is up to the fair to determine where they divvy up their money.
I just
The
think-
proceeds for that.
And since the proceeds would be something beyond just getting compensated for being there, I think that would be a great idea for our communities.
Unfortunately, I can't speak on behalf of the fair, just because they are a separate entity. It's up to them what they do with their,
They're their own 501c3.
yeah, their
The fire
income.
company is a 501c3, and Kimberton Community Fair is a 501c3, they're two separate entities.
So in order to have any changes made, we have to approach them.
The fair.
Kimberton
correct.
Community Fair.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jesse Parsons, Seven Stars Road. Why is it that the funding is much lower than what they requested?
Well, everything is a trade-off when you're talking about funding, and we've come up from nothing. I think did we ever make any contribution to West End?
About 3 years ago, you guys, gave us 50,000 towards a purchase.
With the ARPA money.
That was huge. Of course, we were thankful for that, but.
That was money that we received from the federal government to disperse among the
I don't-
needy organizations, and you fell into that category, along with the fire company. did the best we could. Yes, sir.
He's Randy Furry. I wanted to talk to the subject, and since the assessment came up, it was a shock to us when we got a tax bill, because we hadn't heard anything, we didn't see anything on Facebook, we didn't, it was just there. And I was always under the opinion, or the impression, that we received requests from West End for support. I've been pretty generous, and I thought that that meant, as a member, you would get consideration for the ambulance cost, so they would just accept what insurance paid. Does West End not bill any insurance?
We do, so our subscriptions are set up, so you guys pay a yearly fee. We bill your insurance first, and whatever the difference is outside of your copay, so you'd still be responsible for what your copay would be. So you would get a bill, but then the rest we write off if you subscribe. So depending on what your insurance is set up as, you're still responsible for a copay, the rest we write off.
But if the insurance, if there's no copay, then you don't get a bill.
Correct, if you've subscribed, but we do bill insurance first, and
Okay.
we don't get nearly what we get from insurance. Just, as you guys all know, if your doctor submits for $1,000, they cut you a check for $300, you're out the rest of the money. It works the same for EMS, unfortunately.
Yes, sir.
Brian Jones, Peter to Haven Drive. Can you provide some additional color as to how that tax is allocated between the respective emergency services?
Yeah, that's on the agenda for a later topic, the discussion all in itself, if you don't mind waiting.
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Will you stick around for that, Stacy?
I'm sticking around.
And then just one other quick point, I'm sorry. Actually, I'm not sorry. For the traffic
I
impact
knew that,
fee,
so-
for the traffic impact fee that was a topic of discussion for the hearing that had such short notice, it's to impact, building and everything else for the next 10 years in the township is what I read, top line from whatever was posted. Is it an opportunity for when the township is looking to tax new businesses, new builders, new things like that, that something be discussed to put in additional money and funding for EMS and fire, so it doesn't always get hit on the resident? I don't know whether that's something, I don't know whether that could have been brought up at the public hearing, that's why I'm asking for another public hearing on things like that would affect our township over the next 10 years, so we don't keep getting one after another taxes.
The 209 fund is specifically for highway, or if you like, road improvements.
Yeah.
It's not for EMS, it's not for the police directly, it's not for the fire.
I'd also like to bring up something about data centers, and I know there was some comment made
Well,
during the.
can we hold that until public comment, so we can stay with our agenda?
Sure.
Thanks. Anybody else on the topic of the EMS? Thanks, Stacy, but stick around, please.
I did, what is the ratio of paid versus volunteer?
For EMS?
Yes, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
If
We
you
are
guys
all career at this point.
You are, okay.
So our staff is all paid.
How large
Sounds
is
like
your
they should
staff?
get paid.
How large is your staff at the league next week?
We have a roster of about 27 with 9 of them full-time, the rest are part-time, and we are able to staff one MICU 24/7 and a second truck, typically also a MICU, from 9A to 9P, which are our peak hours. And during storms or any extended weather issues, we do staff a third truck so that it's available if we can.
How many trucks do you have?
We have a total of 4 trucks and a squad. By licensure, we have to have backup trucks, so if one of our ambulances breaks, we have backups. Our backup trucks are a 2010 and 2011 van with about 150,000 miles, so our backups are at the end of their life. But we do have a total of 4, 2 newer ones and 2 reserve.
Anybody else? Eric Hansen, I know there you are, hi Eric, how are you?
Hi, doing good.
You wanna give us an EAC report?
I sure would. So, since my last report in August, we held several events. We had our Paw Paw Delight led by Matt on October 1st, excuse me. And that had good attendance. Residents enjoyed taste testing different Paw Paw products, including raw Paw Paw. We held our Preserving the Harvest event on October 9th. That had low attendance, but it was great information from the event leads. We held our Foraging and ID Walk on October 16th. That was led by Matt again, and that had good attendance, including several kids, and that was really great to see. It's also where we connected with our newest EAC member, Lena, which has been a great asset. She's been a great asset already. Our last event of 2025 was our annual Owl Prowl on December 6th, and that was another great success thanks to our volunteers and Jay Erb from Chester County Park Rangers, who kindly offered his time, talent, and knowledge to lead the event. And we look forward to providing more events like that to our residents, and actually we have about 10 lined up this year. Our first is on the 31st of March, our Native Plant Basics, and that'll be led by Casey Schmidt from Colonial Gardens, who's doing that, I think it's the 4th year in a row she's been doing it, so we're very grateful for her volunteering her time. And I'd like to add real quick, before I move on, that we really have some incredible volunteers on the EAC who really share their time, and they don't have to do it, right? And there might be more fun things they can do on at 7 p.m. on a Thursday night or something like that, but they choose to come out and do this stuff, to share a community with their residents and be neighborly and share their knowledge and everything. So I think that's really important to acknowledge. Our members are also still attending events hosted outside of the township. In November, another member and I attended the EAC Fall Gathering, hosted by We Can Serve PA. That's a great event each year. And they actually had their best attended event this year. I wanna say it was 140 people at the Penn State Malvern campus, and there was a lot of good connections made for our EAC, as well as just sharing a lot of great knowledge. And actually just on March 7th, just on Saturday, the Northern Chester County EAC group held its biannual meeting to share some important information and hear from Chester County Planning Commission's Rachel Griffith and Ann Colby Cummings and she's from the County Environmental Advisory Board. And we were also able to share, each EAC was able to share what we're currently doing. We completed, we completed phase 1 of our single-use plastic initiative. We successfully sent the township's 48 retail businesses letters with a QR code to our survey. We intend to discuss sustainable alternatives with businesses if necessary, unless they find them through their current vendors. Our goal is to find out how we can make it as easy as possible for our businesses to transition from the single-use plastics they're using now. We've only gotten 9 responses as of now, but we'll be doing follow-up in the near future to hopefully get more feedback and have as much data as possible. And lastly, I'm happy to report that we've begun to have some student engagement on the EAC. We had a high school student reach out to the township, and Kim kindly forwarded that to me. They're a member of the high school's environmental club, and they're looking for opportunities for students to have an active voice and representation at future EAC meetings and events. And for the foreseeable future, at bare minimum, I would say, we'll be having an agenda item at each of our meetings to let students provide their feedback and perspectives on what we're discussing and doing. And of course, we'll be encouraging them and their parents, again, to attend our events. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Eric. Anybody have any comments or questions for Eric? Please.
Yep. I did see your publishing in the newsletter about the EAC and the desire to move to no plastic bags in the township. And I appreciate that it was printed in there so people could look at it. My question is, we have issues with the neighborhood townships where they don't have any bags available, or the bags they have available they charge for. And I believe part of your presentation to the retailers was say, hey, get rid of plastic bags, and by the way, you can charge the customers 10 cents for a paper bag, which I have a problem with, because that's just a money-making scheme for them. I have a problem with that personally, however anyone else thinks, I'm sorry. I also am concerned about dog poop bags. Are they gonna be picked up? I mean, is that part of the single-use bags that you're getting rid of? You talked about, 6 billion bags. We know that dog poop bags are part of that. We also know that they're made to be biodegradable. We know that other plastic bags are made to be biodegradable. Maybe instead of taking them away, just encourage them to purchase the biodegradable bags so that it's not such an issue for our rivers, our lakes, our lands, things like that. I agree with you, yes when people pollute, but I think that bags are necessary, and I really have a problem when they turn it into another charge for the consumer, because they've been encouraged to get rid of plastic bags, and oh, by the way, a customer can buy a bag for 10 cents. And then they also have the heavier duty plastic bags, which they've proven have polluted more than anything, and those don't biodegrade at all, in addition to a higher cost. So I appreciate the work you're doing looking for it, I really, really do. And I appreciate that it was published in here, but you gotta look at the whole picture other than a grocery store shopping bag that comes from, you know, Redner's or Giant. Well, Giant doesn't even have them anymore. So it's just my point on there, but thanks.
Yeah, I can answer that if you're
Yeah.
interested, if you'd like. So first, the dog poop bags, right? I looked into that because I remember you mentioned that at my
Yeah.
last report. There are like some like early stage, I would call it, alternatives to that are quote unquote biodegradable or sustainable. It's not a ubiquitous option yet, and the price of that, you know, may vary and may be expensive. So I think what I would say, and what I might have said in my last report, is we're trying to tackle the most feasible things right now. It
Those
would
are
be
3
great.
bags a day.
It would
3
be
to 4 bags
great
a
to
day.
address all of them, but I think we wanna be methodical with this and not just irrational or rush into anything, you know, without, really doing proper research or anything like that, I would say. So valid point, but there's really not an alternative widely available that I think the township would wanna adopt if, for say, their own parks or something, right? And for the other thing, for the fee, I think, I would say all of the single-use plastic ordinances like this, charge a fee for people who do purchase a paper bag at like the grocery store, like Giant or something, right? And it usually ranges from 10 to 15 cents. And the idea is, in theory, right, the fee is supposed to, encourage people to bring their own bags, like the bag you talked about that you said pollutes more than anything, but I would say that, you know, one reusable bag is better than however many single-use plastic bags that may instantly go into
Go
trash.
back to paper. We had paper for years and years and years, there was never a problem with it, go back to paper. It biodegrades, and you said that you sent out a survey to 48 businesses and you've only gotten 9 responses. A lot of times when those businesses don't answer, the decision just comes down to those few people who make the decision for the entire township. So if you're doing a survey, I would really appreciate it if you follow up with each one of them and get an answer from every single one of them, instead of just that, you know, whatever, 25% that give an answer.
Sure, no, absolutely, and yeah, it would be going back to paper for the businesses.
Without a charge,
Most likely.
without a charge.
Well, we would certainly include that input, absolutely.
Well, because you gave them a survey that said, oh, for a nominal fee, you can go back to paper for a nominal fee. Say, no, go back to paper. We're not having plastic bags, go back to paper, we're not charging the customer for it.
And I think the counter argument, like I kinda addressed already, is that the fee's supposed to encourage you, I don't wanna pay this fee, I'll bring my own bag. It's about changing your shopping habits, not trying to
Well,
make
first,
businesses money.
yeah,
Thank you.
first of all,
Thank
everything in the
Wait,
store.
Change
wait,
that.
Excuse me, let's keep it one at a time.
Go ahead, I'm good.
You're finished?
Everything that you're buying in the store is packaged in plastic.
Yep.
And your trash is packaged in plastic. So when people tell me they're saving something by eliminating, they're just passing on another fee to a customer. The reusable plastic bags that Lisa referenced need to be cleaned after use, because there's all kinds of bacteria that can develop in those bags, especially if you have meat and other products in there. So when we talk about going back to paper, my issue with paper is it's a dirty industry. I've been there, I've seen it. But the reality is if we're gonna go back to paper, there were things that industry did to reduce the amount of pollutants and such that they had. But don't make it the cost for the customer who's buying groceries in your store or buying whatever in your store to pay for a bag, when you've got all kinds of stuff in the store already packed in plastic and you're not paying any extra for that.
So it's a good resource for you to do it, but if you're asking stores, tell them, don't charge the customer. If you wanna go back, if you wanna get rid of plastic use, they shouldn't make our shopping be any more expensive than it is. It's just not fair. They're already paying for plastic, they can pay for paper.
as a return. On top of which, you know, you go in, you shop for yourself, you pack, you check out by yourself, you fill your bags by yourself, and at the end of the day, there's no overhead for the grocer or for the, wherever you're shopping. And I just think the feedback is we always wanna do a quick fix or replacement, and this is not a quick fix or a good replacement. Why not push back on the vendors of plastic bags to make them biodegradable? And avoid all of this, because that should be a cost of operating, not a cost to the customer.
An in-depth discussion of this would be, I think, better held at one of Eric's meetings where they do nothing about that. Yes, ma'am.
Well, I always thought that the reason why we went to plastic bags years ago was because we were saving the trees, because using all the paper, we're doing away with trees.
Can I have your name for the record?
Gail Dolan.
Thank you, Gail.
It's just a psyop.
All right, you wanna close your portion now? Mayor?
Sure. Yeah, the paper definitely has its own environmental problems. The point is, it's not to switch the paper, the point is for you to bring your own bags.
But those
The-
bags are made of plastic of some kind.
You're not throwing away those bags in the trash immediately after using it, you're using them over and over again, and that's great if you're reusing them and everything like that. But the fee is an incentive for you to bring your own bags, so you don't have to use the paper, that's the point.
Thank you. Don?
Yes, Lisa and the lady up front, good points. Yes, everything we put in plastic bags is plastic. The problem we have here, there's 8,500 residents of East Pikeland. Can we get them to vote whether we wanna do away with plastic bags? Or we have this gentleman here and Dennis Ray are the two supporters. They're the ones that are negative about the plastic bag. 2 people out of 8,500 taxpayers, and you wanna eliminate plastic bags.
I'm the third, I've just been silent. How do you assume?
Did I
What's
say
that?
anything about it?
I support
Well, I'm just voicing my tax opinion.
Okay.
And we have one grocery store that has, and you mentioned Giant, that's in the borough of Phoenixville,
That's right.
not East Pikeland.
That's right.
Okay,
Yeah.
so don't bring that up about Giant. Redner's is the only grocery store we have in East Pikeland that has bags. One store, 8,500 people. Get there, and Ron, how's your wife gonna pick up trash on your 900-foot frontage without a plastic bag? Is she still, you should still have a wife, right?
I still have a 900-foot footage that people dump out. Great, question in the back. You had a question or comment? No.
I'm,
Okay.
I do away with all the plastic. That's my comment. Get rid of it all.
Keep the bags.
I move to accept resignation of John Schott from the Open Space Committee and Act 209 Advisory Board.
I'll second that motion, questions or comments?
I'm sorry.
John, thank you for everything you've done.
Okay, thank you. I just didn't hear.
Mr. Schott has agreed to stay on the planning commission and will be doing so for the foreseeable future, so we appreciate your service as well on the planning commission.
I think Dennis Ray has his hand raised. Dennis, do you have something to say? You have to unmute yourself.
So I just want to speak to the previous comment. Giant or Redner's is not the only supermarket or grocery store in East Pikeland. We have Kimberton Whole Foods that provide, or at least provided for a interim period, non-plastic reusable bags.
They don't charge us.
So there are alternatives out there, and not all, non-plastic bags are, not reusable. So I just wanted to get that out. Thank you.
Thank you, Dennis.
Thanks, Dennis.
Questions or comments on the motion? Those in favor?
Aye.
New business.
I move to authorize purchase of 2 Ford vehicles through Ford Credit Financing for use by the police department.
I'll second that motion. Question or comment?
Are they hybrid? Okay, they are hybrid, okay.
Yes.
And because you had older vehicles, right, who I think they were needed, right?
Yes.
Yes, okay, thank you. When will they be purchased?
They're ordered, it's just a matter of how long it takes to come in.
Okay.
the board have any concerns with the Ford vehicles in the police department, given the overwhelming amount of recalls that they've had lately on their vehicles with new and previous year models?
I don't think we've had any recall on ours, have we?
There have been, one recall on them, and it was a parking, something with the parking, and it was quickly addressed, so overall, no.
They've been
How many miles?
all over the news lately.
How long have we had?
The pickup, one of them we've had 3 years, and 2. 1.5.
3 years and 2 years. Those in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
Al.
Al, go
Well,
ahead.
just easy question, hopefully. Were both of those cars planned for in the new, this year's budget?
They were not.
So
We've
we're
had- we've had
2 months
serious-
into a year and we're buying something that wasn't planned on in the budget.
That's correct.
That seems like a bad way to do a budget.
That sounds like a tough way to do a budget, it really does. But we have a serious problem with 2 trucks that we didn't plan on. They have very high mileage, they have components that don't function anymore, police-type components. And if we're gonna have a police department in East Pikeland Township, we're gonna have a first-class one that's trained and equipped as well as we can possibly do it.
I'm not against buying them, I'm just against the way the budget process works.
Well,
In all government, not just these Pikeland, I just,
It's not
yes.
possible to actually predict when a particular truck is gonna have a big problem, so.
No, but you have some kind of fund set up preparing for that and money set aside knowing that that's coming, just like the building and other things. I'm done, thank you.
Hold on. So,
Yes, ma'am.
Lindsay Parsons, where does that money come from then? If the 2 vehicles are expensive and it wasn't part of the budget, where's that money come from?
Oh, we're financing.
Good finance.
Right.
Payment has to come from somewhere.
Well, it comes from taxes, of course, that's where all monies that we spend comes from.
Don't you have like a maintenance schedule, like you track the mileage, like, oh, okay, truck's getting to $1.50 in mileage, it's a 10-year-old truck, like, it's a known transmission issue on this make and model of truck, like, don't you have that where you're like stockpiling money, I mean, cause it is right after the first year, and I don't think there was any fluff in the
Oh,
budget
my business.
for anything. So like, isn't there like a, I know that the old road guy's truck went away and Sean bought a brand new F-450 cause it was gas and not diesel. Like, is there any maintenance or tracking where we have this many miles that we should be looking for a new truck or a replacement? Well, I mean, that's not for police trucks, that's for township trucks, township vehicles, like, any piece of equipment that you have front end loaders and is somebody tracking that? Is somebody tracking how many miles, okay, the police cars, or, okay, the salt trucks, salt spreaders only last so many years, then you gotta go buy another one. I can tell you how much they cost brand new, they're $9,000 for a decent one. Like, isn't someone tracking that so we know where we're at? And we can plan in the budget over a year or two to have monies available.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
We keep a maintenance chart, and sometimes there's unexpected maintenance that.
Sure, of course.
Yeah, I mean, our backhoe is how old, Sean?
96.
It's a 96, so, you know, we use equipment until it dies if we have to.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye. I move to authorize advertisement for a public hearing to consider amending the speed limit ordinances for 7 Stars Road.
And what do you wanna?
I'll second that. I have to say.
Okay.
Now, questions or comments, Lisa?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah, what are you trying to go higher or, higher speed or
Yeah, we're
lower
gonna go to
speed?
100 there.
No, that's correct.
It's lower.
Well,
Let's
so
walk-
what is it now and what are you lowering it to?
Well, it depends where it is.
Yeah,
You
so it
break that
depends
down.
where it is, so East 7 Stars from 113 to Township Lane Road will be posted as 35, and from 113 to Kimberton Road 25, and from Kimberton Road to the East Vincent line 25. And the reason is because they're currently posted wrong, or our ordinance is wrong. Anyway, it's
Yeah,
based
so
on
it's
the advice of the police department, we need to correct that ordinance.
Is it cause of the daycare center too, that they're gonna be slowing it down, or they're gonna have
No,
like
it,
flashing
their
No, it
speed
has
limit.
nothing to do with that.
Okay,
Some of it's sight
Their speed
distance, the curvature of the road,
okay.
things like that.
And you're like advertising the speed limit ordinance, what does that mean? Just that you're gonna have a hearing for it? And you're giving us
Yes,
notice on
it'll be
hearing?
an extremely brief
Okay.
hearing, but yes,
Okay.
it'll be what Kim just said.
Okay.
Every ordinance has to be advertised
Got it.
before you pass it.
Thank you.
Okay, those in favor?
Aye. I move to approve resolution 2026-06, land use assumptions report as recommended by the Act 209 Transportation Advisory Committee and following the required public hearing held on March 3rd, 2026.
I'll second that. Questions or comments?
Is this the one that I was talking about where we didn't get notice
I
for
think it is,
Yeah,
yes.
this is. So this is the one where, I think that we should have another public hearing, with proper lead time, because we have no clue what this is about. It's traffic impact study, or traffic impact fee ordinance, for the next 10 years. So it would be helpful if we had another
You sold me.
public hearing. I can't hear you.
You sold me.
Oh,
You
yes.
sold me on the idea.
Okay.
We'll have another hearing. How's
Thank
that?
you. With proper notice.
If you promise to attend.
I will attend.
Okay. All right.
If you give me proper notice, I will attend. Thank you.
Let's schedule another one.
May I just ask, what is proper notice according to the Sunshine Act you referenced earlier?
More than 48 hours on a weekend.
48, thank you. Okay.
I don't think that's accurate, Lisa.
No, it's
I don't think that's
No,
accurate.
We can
no,
put a
no,
little
I
brief.
said we need more than.
Oh, no, I'm asking what the actual rule is according to the Sunshine Act.
24 hours, I think.
Yeah, you can hold a meeting with
24
24 hours notice.
Now,
Not a public
There's a
hearing.
hearing,
yeah,
and I'd have to look at the Act 209
I'm
law as regards to how much time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And I'm pretty sure this was
Academically, we're gonna have
advertised.
another one.
I'm pretty sure this was advertised 1 week in advance and maybe you didn't see it.
I'm just telling you what was listed as posted on the website.
Well, the website doesn't count, it's the newspaper, Lisa. The
All right, I'm
website,
just telling you
the
what was
website is not our
posted. Did
formal
anyone-
notice.
I understand.
Okay,
Did anyone
we-
show up? Did anyone know? Thank you.
If, we'll have another meeting.
We'll do it here.
Thank you. We're good, Thank you.
Where will it be posted?
It gets posted in Pottstown Mercury.
That's
It's our,
required.
it's our
It's the
letter,
statute.
it's our newspaper of common distribution. That's it.
That's a
From
state
Pottstown
law
Mercury.
requires advertising in a paper. in a
It's a
newspaper.
state law, but how many people read the newspaper? How hard would it be to additionally post it on your website
It
and
wasn't
on
on the
your
website.
Facebook?
It wasn't
I'm
on
just
the-
asking, like, you're just saying that it goes in the newspaper, that's your form of notice. It should be in the newspaper, but out of the kindness of your heart, it should also be on the website and on Facebook, not just in the newspaper.
She did post it on the website. There was just a very short lead time, and I don't know anything about the paper, so I don't know, to be fair.
In any event, those in favor?
Aye.
Great, thank you.
Sorry, did you just pass that resolution?
Table.
Table.
Oh, table, yep, green table. I move to approve resolution 2026-07, adopting an updated emergency operations plan.
I'll second that.
What is it, Tam?
Lisa, it's essentially a guide for any emergencies that we have in the township for the safety of the residents, for the, first responders, and just continuity of the services.
Thank you.
Is- Do we have access to it? Yeah, that was my question.
I don't know, I mean,
You
if
used
I
to
that-
looked
have them in the
hard
back of the
today.
room. Is it about 400 pages?
I don't know if it's that long, but-
There you go. 695 pages. Anyone want to read it?
I'll skip over, thank you.
We used to have one in the back of the room. It probably hasn't changed that much. It might be on the bottom shelf back there if anyone ever wants to come in on their time off and take a look at it.
Well, I would think that that would be something that we would want to have people in the township have access to. Because if we don't know how the response is going, let's assume it's a case of shooting or it's a case of a large, need for evacuation.
This guide is essentially for the emergency management, office that we would set up here if there was an emergency. For example, like if there was Limerick, it's for us as the officials who would run the operation.
Okay, do you have anything that would be valuable to the residents, to know?
I will
the
look
basics?
through it and certainly, I can.
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
franchise agreement. So it's duly advertised in the Pottstown Mercury on March 2nd, 2026. The township is using this meeting to accept public comment on a proposed cable franchise agreement with Verizon. This agreement is renewed every 5 years and grants Verizon the rights to operate within the township, within the letter of the law granted by the Federal Communications Act. 20 Chester County municipalities work together to hire the Cohen Law Group out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to negotiate the agreement. Key points in the agreement include: 1, maintenance of a 5% franchise fee based on gross revenue to be paid to the township. Franchise fees are passed on to customers as a separate line item on their bill. Number 2, franchise fee audit process will be made more efficient. And number 3, improved customer service standards. The cable industry has been severely impacted by video streaming services. A study shows that 26% of Americans watch cable TV, which is down from 39% in 2021. At this time, I will now open the floor up to public comment on this franchise agreement.
What is the purpose of the agreement?
It's to allow the cable company to operate within the township.
Emily, with that franchise fee, is that assessed only to Verizon customers, or is that passed through to the general population somehow? Say if we have Comcast, does that flow through the government fee, et cetera?
Is that
Would you like me to respond?
Yes, please.
So it's for Verizon customers, but we have a similar agreement with Comcast.
Thank you.
Any further questions, comments, concerns? Okay, then I will close the public hearing and the comments section of that public hearing. At this time, I move to enact ordinance number 210, authorizing execution of a cable franchise agreement between East Pikeland Township and Verizon.
Second motion. Questions or comments? Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public comment.
Okay, like 5, but they're real easy, so. Again, the Canadian East Pittsburgh Park, the fact that they're confined into that 2 acres where the pond that's not supposed to be a pond is, there's serious health concerns. I mean, they had to shut Green Lane State Park down because of Canadian East, and that's a much larger body of water and much larger land than what we have right there. The second one, the open space that you guys talked about last month up off Wall Street and Spring City Road, is that something you're still pursuing?
Yes.
Is there a reason that we would wanna buy that 70-some acres when we have Hidden River right across the street?
So this property has been on our wish list for quite some time, and the idea is to protect the space from development. And since it is fairly close to Hidden River, it's to preserve as much of the areas around the current parks and natural features that we have preserved. So the goal is to protect as much open space around the already preserved parcels that we have.
So is the township continuing to put open space above homes for new residents?
Let me answer that question. You brought this up many times in the past, and in fact, once you suggested that we would wanna bring in new residents to help us pay our taxes. Is that still your position?
Yeah.
Well, you'd be interested perhaps to know that it costs $19,350 a year to educate a student in this Painesville school system. The average house in the township pays $4,620 in school tax a year, and it brings 2 kids with it. So we have a $40,000 cost and a $4,000 payment, so they're not helping us pay. What they're doing is increasing the school burden, increasing the need for the schools and the cost to educate the kids.
That's a cost burden that's put onto the school district, not onto East Pikeland.
Well, it doesn't matter if it's Pikeland, we pay those taxes.
Yeah, we do pay those taxes, but the majority of our income comes from the earned income tax, not from property taxes. And then that's gonna lead into the emergency services tax that was just imposed at 0.3%, or 0.3 mils, I'm sorry, because it is a property tax, because it's millage based. The Kimberton Fire Department and West End, it's not new. It's not, it didn't just come out of right field that they need money from us. I mean, EMS, so West End, East Pikeland, it's pretty much fair to say that we are their largest go-to. And yet, we don't pay them the most money every year. Same with Kimberton.
Should we pay them more?
Yes.
Sounds like it.
Yeah.
But if there's easy things that you can do as well, I mean, these are things that are not, it didn't come out of right field. These are things that we saw coming towards us. And again, you're gonna hate this one, but redo the open space. Do a new referendum there, get rid of that, get rid of a portion of it if you can, and do the emergency service and emergency and municipal service tax. Cause that'll bring in 3 times as much money as
Maybe ask your residents.
this
Yeah.
0.3 on the mills.
That's your suggestion, I appreciate that.
And then, like I said, it was easy. I think the last one is just to, Kim and Eleanor. She's not here tonight, but thank you, because you guys are doing, she's been putting stuff out on Facebook, and with, getting this video hopefully posted is, something the township needs. And all the residents that showed up, way to go!
You have more?
No, okay.
Oh, you're done, okay.
Al, you have your hand up.
Thank you. Real quick, I wanna address the EMS and the fire company, because I was at the budget meeting that the township held where there was about 4 people in attendance, so everybody that comes and talks about the budget, you had an opportunity to hear the details on that budget, and maybe there was 4 people other than the fire company, Stacy. One of the things that shocked me that either Stacy or the fire company shared was the amount of response you get from your subscription notices that you send, and I'm remembering it was 10% or something like that, or maybe 19%.
Well, I know each year we're between 45 and 47,000, and that is one of our biggest,
But the
income.
percent of responders to that was like
About 12%.
12%. So these 12% of the people are donating money to them, which if enough of us did that, we probably wouldn't have had the need to have that tax. I find that incredibly short-sighted on most people's parts. I've had the fire company come to my house. My neighbors had, EMS come to their house. To me, the police right with them, they're the most important people in our township to take care of, and we should be taken care of. I don't know that it all should be the our taxes doing that. I think as people in the township, we have to do some of that. So anyways, enough of that. My other comment, I was at a meeting with, Park and Rec, Open Space, and the Township Supervisors to talk about specifically Hidden River Park and the financing and where we were. It was for the most part a very good meeting. I looked up that, Pennsylvania statute on, I believe it's number 2022-15 on the open space funding. And either I'm remembering incorrectly or interpreting wrong, or something. You guys will help me. There's 2 categories, item 4, 4-1 and 4-2, where it talks about how that money could be spent. 4-1 says up to 25% of any accumulated balance of the fund from the levy authorized by the referendum can be used to develop, improve, design, engineer, and maintain property acquired for open space benefit of beneficiaries. Item 2 specifically says that you can only use 25% of the annual revenue towards the maintenance of such property. I'm remembering that to be flip-flop from our meeting, maybe I'm wrong, but we were talking about using some of that open space money to finish the Hidden Park revenue, or some of our shortfall of the money we need for Hidden River Park. I just wanted to bring that up. Maybe I'm interpreting that wrong. I'm not a lawyer. I'm happy to say, sorry.
We have our lawyer here tonight, he's making big bucks, so,
Yes.
maybe he can
I
help you out.
have the statute if you want it.
I'll glad to take a look at it.
Yeah. I highlighted the statutes that apply.
Thank you.
Yeah, and again, maybe I'm reading it wrong and you'll correct me. Thank you.
I think what you'll find in there is that there are two options. One is that it depends on whether you wanna tap the most recent fund or the total fund.
Well, the most recent fund seems to be only for maintenance, from my reading that, for maintenance, you're only allowed to take your 25% of the annual revenue, which to me is the recent money.
Right.
Well, the first section says 25% of the accumulated funds.
Right,
So you
for,
can have that much, you can take 25% for maintenance. The second section says you can allocate up to 25% of the funds coming in, presumably of annual revenue.
well, the first part says 25% of the total fund for the development of the park or the property or the open space, is how I read that. Not for maintenance though. Maintenance is only 25% of the annual revenue.
No, and to develop, improve, design, engineer, and maintain the
Oh,
property.
and maintain, thank you, okay.
It's not the most clear statute ever drafted.
I will agree with that, since I missed that maintain word, because basically they talk about maintenance again
Yeah.
in the very next line, so.
Yeah, I think the difference between the two is you can look at how much you've accumulated over the years
Right,
versus designated annually.
so do you feel like we could use 25% of the total of that account towards the development of a park?
That's one possibility, it appears, under the
Thank
code.
you, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
So,
He was first, but I'm gonna give you the opportunity because you said very
we'll
well.
find him, we'll find him. So like the Miller property, the other properties that are purchased with open space funds that have historical assets on them, what are we doing to maintain them? Like, the Miller property has a couple of buildings there that are falling down, there's no fence up, somebody walks on there and gets hurt. I mean, you're talking about how you're finding 1345 Harris Hill Road because they're not taking care of a historical asset. Are we taking care of historical assets? And if we are, how are we doing that? And if we're not, why aren't we? If we're buying 70-acre parcels with 10 buildings on them, and we have the money, are we maintaining our historical assets on these properties?
Let's take the Miller property that you brought up, we've owned it for about 7 weeks. So in the scheme of things, we haven't developed any kind of a plan, there are no historical structures of value on the property.
Oh, I remember a meeting, you were specific that we bought it because there were historical assets on it.
That was not the case.
Well, I mean, you can see from the road there's not, but, so, don't we have a plan before we buy? Isn't that how that works? Like, oh, okay, this would make a really nice park, here's how we're gonna finance it, here's how we're gonna do it, kinda like a pro forma? Or we just willy-nilly buy them and then we decide what we're gonna do?
One of the reasons we buy open space is to just have it as open space. It has a value, and in fact, that's the name of the program, is
But
open space.
we are paying into it, so
Yes.
you get to decide, I mean, you work for us, right? At the end of the day, you work for us. And our money is buying properties just so the bees, and that's great, I'm all for it, I love open space. But here's my problem, we have all this money, and there's no rhyme or reason for what we're doing, and we have all these quarter of a project down here, a quarter of a project down here. Why don't we finish one or two things before we take on 8 more things, and where does the money come to maintain them? Or we're just gonna let it sit there and let these buildings crumble and we're not gonna protect anything there or fence it in? Like, are you worried, I mean, you're a personal injury lawyer, you're not worried about somebody going and getting hurt there? I mean, I would be I worry about people getting hurt at the parking lot next to me, at the, I mean, there's a Grand Canyon hole that like, it doesn't get plowed. Then you've got, like, none of this stuff gets maintained. Where does the money for that come from?
I'm not sure I completely follow your question, but,
Well, we just buy things, and then you just said that we make a plan after we buy them. But like, if you're, like, for instance, there are several properties that have nice historic barns on them that could be something, or they could be fixed up, or they could be torn down, so there's no possibility of someone getting hurt, or, like, so you bought the Miller property, and now you're going to think about what we're gonna do with it.
Can
No,
I answer
that's not
that for you?
go ahead.
Can I help you?
Go ahead.
The whole point of the meeting Thursday night at the fire company, it's called the pros plan, is all about those type of things. So those, now that plan, if it's, once it's presented, would have to be adopted by the township supervisor, so I'm not saying it's gonna be the way we do it, but all those things are part of that plan. The maintenance, the operations, what a particular piece of open space requires to be taken care of, so we don't get sued, all those things. So we just really stress, if you wanna have input on those things in the township, Thursday night, at the fire company, 6 o'clock is where to come. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, two, I asked this question a couple months ago, the pros plan, if pros comes back and in their top 3 or 4 recommendations is that we use open space money for maintenance, construction, care of the park that we have, are you willing to go along with that?
I would give you the same answer now that I gave you that. I'm not gonna answer that as a hypothetical question, because the pros plan is not gonna come back with that single issue. It's gonna come back with perhaps
Multiple
with that
lines.
included in with many others. So that's the answer. That's why we're having it done, not so we can second guess them before they're finished, but to wait for the result.
And then, yours and Andrew's response to Al's question about the funds and using 25% of, the fact that you guys didn't know the answer right off the top of your head, when this is something that me and you have yelled and screamed at each other over
We've
for
never
the
done
past
that.
4 years.
We've never done that.
Well,
Oh.
if there was more people here at the time, they would have seen it. And is that why we're in the position where West End and Kimberton don't have the appropriate funds? And why we almost didn't have a balanced budget coming into this year? Because nobody's really paying attention to what's going on?
Well, you can suggest that if you like, but I tell you that that's not the case.
Then what is the case?
We are paying attention.
You just
And
said you
do
bought
not
a
care.
property for how many millions of dollars and you don't know what you're gonna do with it yet? You didn't think about that before you decided to write a check that large? Like, you just said you didn't know what you were gonna do with it yet, but we already own it.
But right now, the plan is to keep it as open space, just as open space. It's not to turn it into a park, it's not to do,
So what are you gonna do with the buildings on it? Just let them decay?
no,
But you don't know, because you still haven't come up with a plan yet. But we spent, what was that, 1.75, 154, I forget what the exact, 1.9 million dollars.
We bought the property and we had the chance to buy it. The opportunity.
But if it's been on your wish list for years, wouldn't you know what you're gonna do with it before you buy it? Wouldn't you be like, we gotta spend $100,000 in demolition and remediation? Or we've gotta cart away this much stuff, or we've gotta spend this much on a fence, or like, usually when you're taking $1.9 million of someone else's money and spending it, there's a plan before you buy it. And especially if it's been on a wish list, it wasn't like Mr. Miller died suddenly, and it was like, oh, let's quick get in there and get that before Toll Brothers gets it. That property's been on your wish list. I've read the minutes for as far back as the minutes go on mine. I know how long it's been on your wish list. So like, nobody thought about what we were gonna do when we were writing a check for $1.9 million. It's just gonna sit there on the side of the road. Nobody can see it, nobody can walk in it, nobody can do anything with it, and there's abandoned buildings that are crumbling. And nobody was like, oh, let's come up with a plan?
We have a plan for it. The plan is to maintain it for open
crumble it? Like, are you gonna tear them down, or are you just gonna let them crumble so it looks like there's a horror movie being shot there?
Well, we haven't made that decision yet.
Right, so it goes back to my question, if you're writing a check of our money for $1.9 million, wouldn't you think about what you were gonna do with it before you bought it? So you could answer these questions?
Apparently, we wouldn't think of it in the same way that you're thinking about it.
Well, I mean, I'm not a lawyer and I didn't graduate from college, so I would assume you would know more than me. And I would assume you would have a better plan than me.
Well, why
But I don't buy things unless I know what I'm gonna do with them.
If you have a plan you'd like us to look at, we'll take a look at it.
I have a great idea to that point. How about if we use the open space that we're buying to keep the data centers away from the township? Also because in order to cool the data centers, and I know the team is doing their research on them, they're not the only ones who are doing research on data centers. In order to cool them, they're using potable, is it potable or potable water? Potable, drinkable water, basically. And our township gets our drinkable water from the Schuylkill River. If we are able to use perhaps some of our open space and leave it open so that data centers don't come in and try and buy that space, perhaps that's a use of that space. Okay, just a thought, okay?
You've hit on a very important part. Because if we purchase these properties, which are suitable for the data centers, that takes them off the market for the data center.
I understand, I was just following through, wait a minute, Mike, one other thing. Okay, so that was my thing about data center. The second thing that I wanted to bring up, and the last thing that I'll bring up tonight, the meet and greet, with Vince for the Board of Supervisors. It's a nice idea. Vince had the meeting on the 6th, which was Friday. Here's our here's our Board of Supervisors meeting and he's not here. I understand he has plans, I understand life happens, etc. I don't understand the purpose of those meetings other than, first of all, it's 1 hour a month. Second of all, it's only to one Board of Supervisor member. Third of all, I don't understand the purpose of it unless it's to complain in a private forum. I just don't understand the purpose of it. And I know we all wanna keep the time consolidated for the meetings, we don't want them to go on forever. But I just don't understand the purpose of one Board of Supervisor hosting a meeting when nothing can be done from it. It doesn't go on the agenda, nothing, he's not here to say, oh, I found this great piece of information that this person shared because they couldn't make a meeting. I understand all that, I understand what the benefit is, but if they're not bringing it forward to the Board of Supervisors and ultimately to the township, what's the point of it? Other than a meet and greet.
Plus, on top of that.
Excuse me, I think he had this meeting last Friday.
Yeah, it was Friday, yeah, today's Monday.
Right, so,
Yeah.
I mean, he's somewhere else. Did
Oh, I
you
understand.
expect him to file a complete report over the weekend?
Well, you know what?
Just tell me
Ron,
if you expected
legit, it was an hour meeting, it was open to the entire township, what's the purpose of it? He doesn't have to do a report, that's not what I'm asking, what I'm asking is what's the purpose of the meeting if what is discussed there about our township is not brought forward to the Board of Supervisors. He can have them, I'm just saying, but if there's something that affects our township, I believe that should be brought forward to the agenda.
I think he will be.
Okay, all right, great.
When he returns and has time to do it.
Great, yep, great, that's just my point on it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes, sir.
I just want to revert back to a question I asked earlier about how is the allocation of the emergency services tax?
Oh, that's a good question. Kim, can you,
I
know
can
you have
address
the
that,
numbers.
yes. So in the past, we have given a percentage of our real estate tax to the Kimberton Fire Company as our annual contribution. And that percentage, it changed over the years as our real estate tax rate, but that was about $35,000 a year. And then we gave them a $25,000 a year outright contribution, so that's $60,000. So that's what we allocated in the EMS tax for the Kimberton Fire Company, and then we allocated $25,000 for West End. Now, if we find that we meet our goal, which is about $200,000 in that fund, and say that, interest rates are doing really well and we bring more in and we have extra money in there, it may be possible that we have additional funds to give to EMS providers. But this is our first year and right now we only have $276 in that fund, because the tax just went out, the tax tax bills just went out.
One of the important qualities of that particular fund is that money can't be spent on anything else.
Mhm.
I mean, the money we voluntarily give to whoever it is, can be changed anytime. But here we've locked in a certain amount of money that has to go to the first responders.
Thank you.
And I don't think there's any doubt that they're critical to the community.
I'm sorry?
I don't think there's any doubt that they're critical to the community.
Oh, no. I was hoping that more may be allocated. The young lady mentioned West End had a shortfall, so I was hoping more would maybe be allocated to that if the fire company was, more balanced.
As Kim pointed out, as the funds begin to appear, more may very well get allocated to those areas.
Thank you.
Because we can't spend it anywhere else. Yes, sir.
Just because the data centers are a very hot button issue, and I don't want to see the board use open space funds as a way to acquire a boatload of open space, saying, oh, we're trying to keep data centers at bay. So my question to Andrew would be, what areas of our township, other than where Crombie is, would a data center truly be allowed?
That requires us to know what the data center developers are looking for exactly. And my understanding is it changes a bit. So, I agree, Crombie area is one possibility. There may be more. I don't know, they may have been looking at the Miller property or whatever property. Any open space that you purchase, or any property that you purchase into the open space, saves it from potential development, right?
Yes, but potential development brings in families, which brings in workers, which brings in more revenue through the earned income. And the emergency services and municipal tax would replace the open space tax in the manner that that money can only be used for municipal use and emergency services. And it's at 0.25%.
Well, these are decisions we make, among other things. There are options that we explore. Yes, ma'am.
So in terms of data centers, if somebody wanted to build one of those, they would need to come to the township and get approval anyway, right?
Yes.
So the township could say no to data centers regardless of what is deemed open space and what's not deemed open space.
Federal government said
What?
no.
Like I said, I wish it was that easy.
Okay.
LP, ask me
If
later.
they comply with the zoning and land development ordinances, then they get to build. So, in a sense, you need to plan ahead for these newer things coming in, and that's what the township is looking at now.
Yes, sir.
Unrelated. First, a comment, Jesse Parsons. The Miller property, perhaps this guy who's stealing wire wants to be unleashed there. And he can take care of some of the rip out.
It's a thought.
Maybe he needs it. Second, I was trying to find meeting minutes for zoning hearings, and I couldn't find them anywhere.
The zoning hearing board,
The zoning hearing board, East Pikeland zoning hearing
where
board.
are they posted, Kim?
There is no such thing. So the zoning hearing boards are quasi-judicial, so there is a court reporter
Okay.
that creates a transcript.
Okay.
And those transcripts are available to the attorney and the township after the hearing. And if anyone else wishes to have a copy of the transcript, they have to reach out directly to the court reporter because that is their work product. And they would have to pay the court reporter for that transcript.
So we have to pay for it.
Yes.
My understanding is that the Sunshine Act requires that minutes be posted for all meetings within the township. I'm a little confused about why that doesn't fall under that legal requirement for the township to post
The
minutes.
zoning hearing board is not part of us. The only connection we have to it is we appoint the members, and then after that, they're independent of us. In fact, they don't, any decision made there is not appealed to us, it's appealed to the courts.
Oh,
Think of it as a separate branch,
interesting.
separate entity.
And they're not technically a committee or a board, they're a hearing body, quasi-judicial.
Okay, interesting.
Now,
My last comment for the night, I promise, because I'm tired. How can we, as Stacy said, the two largest users of their service in our township are the two, senior living centers, which I assume,
I know where you're going.
how do we get money from them? Yeah, that's what I want.
That's actually, it's something that we are gonna be working with them, trying to get more funding
Yeah,
from
because,
them.
I mean,
Why don't they have a subscription?
they're sort of because they're
Well, they do,
residents.
a lot of the residents do, and our goal is hopefully to encourage them to have all their residents, but we can't force them.
And
And
we-
they're unlimited budgets too, but that is something that we are looking at this year, trying to get more funding from them, because they do take up a percentage of the call volume.
Positive.
Can
And the-
you set up to have a subscription service also from those facilities outside of just their residents?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what.
Can the facility get
Like a commercial
That would work.
Yeah, like a commercial subscription, and then the people within those particular facilities would also have to pay for the subscription, so that, let's just say it's a new resident who dies out or needs ambulance service out in the parking lot, it's not even moved in yet. That would be a different scenario than somebody who's been living there and gets services. So having a commercial as well as a, individual resident, subscription.
A lot of, your, like, the commercial, like, businesses do contribute on their own. And that's really, we can't force the businesses to pay us a subscription. The subscriptions go out to them, and they have the option to pay or donate as they please.
How much of your, responses are at those two facilities? Perhaps there's an opportunity to sit down and think about what else we can do for their contribution to increase.
Again, yeah, that's something we've been looking at with our board.
Okay, thank you.
Wait, did you say the other question was your last question?
Yeah, but I remember the one for Friday.
Okay, go ahead.
And it's a positive one, so.
Okay.
I went to the meet and greet with Vince, Friday. There was like, there's 4 people, five residents counting me. And, I didn't expect anything like major to come from these, but it was a nice gesture that we haven't seen before. So it's something that I would like to see continue.
And there's a rotation.
Oh, you mean Vince's meeting?
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as it's being forwarded and not a backroom discussion, as long as it's being forwarded to the Board of Supervisors for something that affects all the residents, I'm for it.
Yeah.
If it's just a meet and greet, why? So, but I'm sorry.
But it's rotating too, it's not just Vince every month.
Well, that's something we'll just.
Or you did decide, you posted it on your Facebook or your website, that it's oh, you're not doing that?
It's only official on the
I don't know
Mercury.
if we will, we're gonna see how it works out. If no one shows up, nobody does it, obviously, we're not gonna go in there and sit there and do nothing. So you have a question?
I have, two questions of comments. For the Friday meeting, and we'll just use that expression, most people aren't available to come to that Friday meeting. So it's really a very limited audience that would be able to utilize that. So from my perspective, it's a nice concept, maybe it takes place once a quarter instead of every month, or however it's scheduled, because, and perhaps looking at a better time window in the future, so that people in the township that do work and don't have that availability would be able to attend. Second comment that I have is that data centers, there's a lot of data out there about the harm, and its environmental impact, and its financial impact, and it's an impact that affects every one of us in the community. So I think that, again, using open space money to block potentially people wanting to build a data center may be something that we look at in a 5 and a 10-year plan, because in 10 years, they're not gonna want that data center anymore. It's just gonna be another eyesore in the community, and it's gonna be affecting us in terms of the entire community, and monies that need to be spent to somehow recover that property and to recover our water systems as well. Because again, it's the exchange, we don't want immediate fixes, and we tend to exchange one thing for the other. It's like, space can be left just as it is, but if there are buildings or something else on that property that's going to create a liability for the township, then we need to address those as well, whether maintain them or take them out, take them down. Kids have a habit of looking for those kinds of things to hang out and just to explore. And it's not, I'm not being, we're not gonna, it's not intended for them to be harmed, but it would be easy for a kid to get harmed in things that are neglected, and that are not in a state of repair that anyone should be.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you just kind of snapped at me and said that you're gonna decide whether you're going on a rotating basis or not, but just so we're aware, February 28th and March 6th, you guys posted on your Facebook, please join a member of the Board of Supervisors on a rotating basis to discuss township topics of your interest. So why would you post that if you're not gonna go on a rotating basis?
Well, first off, I didn't post it personally.
Well, you run the township, don't you?
I'm one of three, yes, I know you'd like to.
Well,
say-
you're the head of it, and I actually, one of my other questions I was gonna ask is, how many times have you voted opposite of what he votes in your time?
Once.
One time.
And I was there.
What was that on?
It was on the child care center to waive the, fee that, the township asks new businesses to pay the, township. for
Right.
January. Yeah,
It was
and
for-
no, it was for the kids, it was like $85,000, and you guys negotiated, Darcy and Ron negotiated it down to like $75,000, and Emily was like, no, it should be what it is for everything, cause it's setting precedent. That's the one time I do
Yeah,
remember
so-
that.
Yeah, there's my point. You kinda do run the township.
But
because-
but to her credit though, she was only a board member for 2 years, so.
No,
you know, she's only been a board member for how
No,
long?
she hasn't.
Since
It's 2020.
It's four.
Okay.
Sorry, so time flies.
Weren't you brought in 2021 when Ben died?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, well, it's 2026.
5 years.
Official
Five.
board member.
So, right, it's more than 4 years. 5 years, you've only voted against him one time. We're not gonna get into any other comments tonight, I'll behave. But you handpicked her, and you both said that you handpicked Vince. So it seems to me like you do run the township, because you pick people who agree with you. And you're kinda scary if you don't agree with people, right, Ron? So let's just, your staff, or the people that you hire, or you decide can stay and you don't fire, that all agree with you, post it on your behalf that it's on a rotating basis. I didn't make that up. So it's on your website, it's on your Facebook.
Yeah, I got that, I understand it.
Then you just snapped at me and told me that it's not my decision. Seems like you advertised it.
I personally did not advertise it.
Well, the people,
Well, let's let this drop, can we? Is there any chance we can move on? from
So is
this?
it gonna be rotating or not though? Yeah, that's what I wanna know. Is it gonna be rotating?
I don't know, I haven't decided if I will participate.
You
or not.
decide. Why don't you let your people that you work for decide for you? I mean, you already stuck it out there. It's already out. You already had Vince in here for an hour. Who knows what sort of useful information he had. But why don't you tell us now if you're gonna do it or you're not gonna do it? You advertised it.
I said I haven't made that decision. How many times do I have to tell you?
So at this point, we're taking feedback, on the experience.
Wow,
and we're
look
gonna
how
make-
great that was. She handled a situation you couldn't handle just by saying, we're listening to feedback.
All right.
That's really easy.
Yes, ma'am. you have
Sorry,
a comment.
I'm new to all this, Katie. Since you're here, I do have a question, because I am new to all this, and I'm going back and I'm reading minutes. You are his employee at his law firm, correct?
Not correct, at this time.
You're on his website. Doesn't that violate the Sunshine Act?
No,
It's a conflict
He
of
is
interest.
a conflict of interest,
is it? Why do you say that?
because he is her employer, so he can persuade her over her finances and her job to act in a way that promotes his agenda.
I would suggest just like any supervisor could persuade the other supervisors.
So conflict of interest doesn't exist, like.
That's not a satisfactory
Law
answer.
about it, and it does not
So do you
violate.
guys have to disclose when you guys have meetings outside of this situation?
They're not supposed to be together outside.
Right, 'cause like they have to
No,
disclose.
no,
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 that's
no,
not,
no.
that's not accurate.
Hold on, what
That's
did you
not
say?
accurate. So the supervisors can be together outside of meetings. We cannot make decisions that will impact the public, unless we are in this room with the public present. So yes, we can socialize, we can meet for lunch.
You can't discuss anything that is business township related at those meetings, though.
Can't make a decision.
We can't make decisions about township related.
Why do you guys announce, well, so-and-so got together and we went to Rocco's and no business about the township was talked about? So why do you guys advertise that if you don't advertise all of them? Cause I mean.
You know, we've gone as far as we're gonna go on this.
I'm very good
So,
surprise.
We can go back next month and take it up again. Yes, sir.
Dave, that was the first meeting I've ever been to.
You're
The
not
Miller,
all like this.
I'm not familiar with the Miller property. How many acres is that and how is it zoned?
I'm sorry, I missed it.
Miller
The
property.
Miller
Oh,
property.
the Miller property was.
How many acres and how is it zoned?
74 acres, zoned, some form of agricultural protective,
Do you know, Councilman?
I can tell you in 1 second.
And I have a couple of questions for
Agricultural
Councilman.
preservation zoning,
It's what?
agricultural preservation.
Okay, having bought it, obviously data center business is important to residents. Is there a way to put it into conservation or a way to absolutely make sure it cannot become land for a data center?
So the township purchased the land.
Right.
So if anybody wants to
Can
put
we
something on
rezone
it,
it
they'd
or
have,
do
they'd have to buy it from the township, which is highly unlikely. So if somebody wanted to put a data center on your property, they couldn't do it unless you said, okay, right?
Well, I know that, but I know what happened over in Upper Providence with the, with the property there, Montgomery County Geriatric Center, and things happen. And having the foresight ahead of time to try to make sure you put as many limitations and restrictions is very.
That's a pretty good restriction to buy it with open space tax money.
Yeah, we were open space too. County still sold it from under us.
It's a county.
Our famous governor being the chairman. Montgomery County Commission.
Do we have any insight on what Pico owns for the old coal plant near Crombie Park? Any info on that at all?
Too small.
Any updates, any plans that they're thinking about?
You think it's too small?
In the township owning open space, isn't there a limit, a year, after 15 years, you can then sell the property?
No, there's a process to do it, but you have to go through the courts and get the judge to approve it, things like that.
All right, any announcements?
I have quite a few. So, March 12th, that's Thursday night at the Kimberton Fire Company, there's flyers in the back of the room. The most important thing on these flyers, besides you attending, is the QR code for you to take a survey to participate in the pros plan. So attend on Thursday, also use your phone to take the QR code, it also has a link on our website. March 24th, the Historical Commission is presenting the first of their guest speaker series for the year. So it's How Native Americans Shaped Our Democracy, 7 p.m. here. That is also listed on our educational events schedule that's in the back of the room. And on the back of that is our community events that are coming up for the next 6 months. And then this is a big announcement, the intersection of Township Line Road and Schuylkill Road, if you can picture where that is, starting Wednesday through November, it will be on a that intersection will be flagged in order to widen and restripe the eastbound 23 approach and create a dedicated left turn lane at the intersection of Township Line Road, and then milling and overlaying this intersection. So it's something we wanted for a long time. This is a PennDOT project and will be starting this week.
Are they closing that road?
It says they're gonna be flagging.
Okay,
So it
because we
probably
also
means
have.
they'll direct you in front of the Redners and down that.
Yeah, cause we also have the, Spring Hollow Road that's closed for like 24 months.
Mhm.
And then all the new
Spring City
building,
Road.
Yeah, okay.
That's it for me.
Thank you.
I move that we adjourn.
Second that motion.
Public comment. Public comment. Did you say?
We just did public comment for an hour.
Yeah.
Recording stopped.
All right. I worked up a thirst. I'll see you at Dunkin' Donuts.
Saturday morning.
Was that your comment?